Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 36th Ward and the Belmont-Cragen neighborhood. I'd like to take this opportunity to publicly congratulate our new CPS CEO, Pedro Martinez. Felicidades, and welcome to our beautiful and diverse community. It's a great day for Prosser Career Academy High School, a high-performing school who is currently a CTE IB school and can now add the coveted National Blue Ribbon Award to its list of accomplishments. The 2021 Blue Ribbon selection was made by U.S. Secretary of Education Miguel Cardona and is based on a school's overall academic performance and progress in closing achievement gaps. This incredible honor is a direct result of Prosser Career Academy's commitment to placing students at the center of decision-making, serving their needs while embracing changes in the world and our need to change with them. I commend the hard work of our dedicated educators, students, and their engaged families in providing a safe and supportive learning environment that fosters academic, civic, and creative growth. Just 2 years ago, we were here announcing a $12 million investment in a building trades program that was finally completed last year. Unfortunately, we didn't have the ability to do a ribbon cutting because of the pandemic, but I was very proud of that investment because of the fact that it allows students the ability to get introduced to the building trades. So not just the IB program, but more importantly, the building trades, because we know that all children might not go on to college, but we need to prepare them for life. And so I'm very proud of that investment. Today is also a great day for both Disney 2 Magnet and Walter Payton, who will also receive this same honor. Congratulations to those students, their principals, who are joining us today, and to my colleagues, Chairman Scott, Alderman Gardner, and Chairman Burnett. And now, please welcome Mayor Lightfoot.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a great day to be here in Belmont-Cragen, and particularly announcing and really celebrating the accomplishments of these three CPS schools, Prosser, Disney 2, and Walter Payton. I want to give a special shout out to the principals and assistant principals who are here. Prosser Career Academy Principal Sandra Shimon, Disney Magnet High School Assistant Principals Ileana Jakewicz. I've completely screwed it up, and you're blushing so, and rightfully so, right here. And Heather Morrison, and Walter Payton College Prep Interim Principal Farida Shabazz. It's often said that CPS is a district on the rise, and rightfully so. There's been a lot of challenges over these last 18 months. Challenges in every direction, and definitely affecting our CPS family. But schools and students and teachers and principals all over this district are rising to the occasion, having to adapt to remote learning, teaching in a completely different environment, coming back partially last year, and then this year coming back full-time 5 days a week. It's a lot of change that's happened in the last 18 months, and yet what we see is CPS family, the building principals, assistant principals, the teachers, of course, but importantly, our students are rising to the occasion and succeeding. So I'm thrilled to be here to announce, as Alderman Villegas said, that 3 of our CPS high schools have received an incredible national honor, the National Blue Ribbon. This is Disney 2, Magnet, Prosser Career Academy, and Walter Payton College Prep. And you can clap. Now, Walter Payton earned this recognition previously based upon their academic excellence and high rates of graduation. This is, in fact, the 3rd time for Walter Payton receiving this award. Prosser Academy and Disney 2 earned this based upon their also outstanding achievement and persevering in spite of all of the challenges of the pandemic, and doing it in a very diverse environment. And let me speak for a minute about the neighborhood we're here in Belmont-Cragen. Many of you know that at the height of the pandemic, this was an area that was really suffering mightily with COVID-19 infections. We were very concerned about the safety of the people in this neighborhood because of the disproportionate rate of COVID that was affecting them. Now, through the hard work of many, and the alderman certainly leading that charge, this is one of the most highly vaccinated neighborhoods in our city. And please do clap for that. And that means that the students, the parents, and the family, and the whole community is being protected in a way that is absolutely essential for their ability to move forward and thrive. So I want to thank the alderman. I want to thank all of the stakeholders who really worked diligently over many, many months to make sure this community was safe from COVID. Now, we're not done and more work to do, but I think it just underscores the level of the achievement of this high school coming as it is in a neighborhood that was very challenged for a long time by COVID. So what does this Blue Ribbon Award mean? It means that this student body and staff will be re-energized and hopefully motivate them as a result of getting this national recognition. It signals to families here in our city that, and really across the nation, that we have some of the best high schools in the country right here in Chicago, public high schools that are beating and exceeding the odds, but also besting some of the most exclusive private schools in our city and in our region. And it gives us a roadmap on how other schools within the district can strive to attain these same kinds of achievements. I hope that you are understanding that this is a big deal. I'll leave out the adjective that our president used in another occasion, but it is a very big deal. Our school communities have been challenged, but they've never broken. They have risen to the occasion, and it is a great, great testament to the quality of everyone in the district from top to bottom. Now, this is also a big day because you're hearing again from our new CEO, Pedro Martinez, who gets to celebrate this excellent achievement, but also we challenge him. Next year, let's have more than 3. Let's set this as the floor, not the ceiling, on what we can achieve. And I am so excited about what we have seen already from CEO Martinez. He's hit the ground running. He has really been leading from the front. And it's my pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, to yield the podium to CEO Pedro Martinez.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Principal Shaman. And congratulations, of course, to Disney Magnitude, to Walter Payton. You know, I got to brag a little bit on Prosser, though. But before I do that, let me share with you some details about the National Blue Ribbon Awards. So there's only 3. So think about how many districts are in the country. There's tens of thousands across the country of districts. Think about how many schools exist in the country. So we have over 600 schools just here in Chicago. Out of all the schools in the country, 325 were chosen this year to be National Blue Ribbon schools. The best analogy I can give you, it is the Academy Awards of schools. By the way, you don't apply. You get selected to submit information. So it's not even like you can go and say, hey, I'm going to go apply. No, they actually look at your data, and then they say, hey, we need more details. And then you submit, and then you eventually learn whether you're awarded or not. It's a very, very huge deal, as the mayor just said. And for me, and the reason I want to brag a little bit on Prosser, you know, one of the things that I've always known coming back to Chicago, my hometown, my home district, we have awesome schools. We have examples. We don't need to go outside our district to know how to create an amazing school, how to have amazing programming. We don't have to. Prosser here, just to give you little details. Over 1,100 students. The vast majority are children that live in poverty. Over 150 diverse learners. Multiple challenges, as the mayor said, as we've been dealing with COVID. Yet this high school, even during the pandemic, a 97% graduation rate. Think about that. 97%. Over 73% of our students go to college. And what I love is, and when you think about the DNA of Prosser, which does, as the mayor said, gives us a roadmap. Our principal, for example, was an assistant principal, was a teacher. Many of our staff have been teachers here. So there is a level of leadership and stability that's really been homegrown that I'll tell you, that's one of the elements. That's one of the elements of success. And so for me, I just couldn't be prouder for all of our 3 schools, but I think it's an important message for us to send that we have neighborhood schools like Prosser, that as we look at all of our schools, does give us, it gives us a North Star. And that's my commitment, Mayor, is that we're going to leverage, and we have many North Stars, but we're going to leverage these North Stars to improve the system for everyone. As the Mayor said, one of the other things that's really important about how Prosser got the award, because you can get it on overall achievement, but I'll tell you, one of the hardest ways to get it is by closing achievement gaps. Think about that for a second, what that means. So when you have a high school that has such really a representative percentage of diverse learners, a representative even above the district average of children living in poverty, and they got the national award for closing the achievement gap. The one thing I will say, and I love old buildings, don't get me wrong, but I will say this, this is another great example for me how sometimes our buildings don't all reflect the magic that's happening in our buildings. And that is something that, the Mayor and I are talking quite a bit about how do we create a sustainable program for our facilities, because I'll tell you, the magic is happening. The results are there. So we just have to figure this out on the facilities. But again, for me, thank you to the Prosser family for showing us what's possible. And I know that you would say, Principal, it's parents, it's staff, it's students, it's a village. We have 2 other amazing schools, and we definitely will build on that, Mayor. We definitely will build on more than 3 because we know the potential is there. Thank you, everyone.
Now we're happy to take your questions, but before I do, I want to address something that I'm assuming will come up in questions. We have seen on Saturday, and it's been covered in the news, an unfortunate incident on the west side in the 25th District, a shootout involving individuals who came to a street and then shot into a house, and then people shot out of it. What's been reported is that the state's attorney's office declined to bring any charges against the individuals that were involved. I just want you to know that this is of deep concern to me, and beyond that, met earlier today with members of West Side Aldermanic Caucus, Alderman Burnett, Alderman Scott, Alderman Taliaferro, Mitz, and Irvin, and we sent a letter to State's Attorney Kim Foxx asking her to reconsider that decision. Having looked at this, gotten a deep understanding from the detectives that were doing the investigation, it's really hard to understand that decision. It's complicated for sure, but we really urge the state's attorney herself to get personally involved, look at the evidence, and I believe that there are charges that can be brought at a minimum against the individuals who initiated the gunfire. We can't live in a world where there's no accountability. When there's no accountability, meaning individuals who wreak havoc, who fire indiscriminately, or fire at a target but without any regard to the sanctity of life and the health and well-being of others, if they do not feel like the criminal justice system is going to hold them accountable, we're going to see a level of brazenness that will send this city into chaos. And we cannot let that happen. We simply cannot let that happen. And I think that there's evidence there. We got videotape. We have a marked squad of uniformed officers who were on the scene observing it. At a bare minimum, the individuals who initiated the firefighting must be prosecuted. And we've urged in our letter that the individuals in the house who fired back with rounds and rounds of deadly force, they have to be looked at as well. But at a minimum, the ones who initiated, 3 of them were there, 1 is deceased, but there are 2 others that were arrested. They have to be held accountable. So with that, happy to take your questions.
Thank you, Mayor. We're going to start off with Mary Ann Ahern on your left. Mayor, thank you. And on that same thought, there were some, obviously, the police budget hearing today. A lot of discussion about Shot Spotter and its contract. Some in the community do not favor it. The superintendent made a point to say it isn't so much the vendor, it's the technology. Do you support that technology?
Well, I've said this several times. It's not just ShotSpotter. It's ShotSpotter with our other camera technology. I get asked about this all the time from other mayors because, God bless ShotSpotter, they're active and engaged in other cities across the country. It's not enough to just have ShotSpotter. You've also got to have the additional camera technology to be able to hone in on the areas that ShotSpotter is indicating that there were shots. But what I know personally, also anecdotally from detectives and others who are using and exposed to this technology on a regular basis, is that it is extraordinarily helpful. And for those who don't know, what ShotSpotter does is it detects the sound of gunfire, then focuses cameras on a particular geographic location using GPS and other geocoding, and then allows the districts to be able to dispatch officers to that area on a regular basis. A lot of the preliminary investigations for shootings and God forbid, homicides are as a result of that ShotSpotter alert. So all I can speak to is what our experience is here in Chicago, that it's been an incredibly important crime-fighting tool, coupled with our cameras and the SDSC rooms, to make sure that our officers are getting to the scenes of crimes as quickly as possible, even when there may or may not be 911 calls. A lot of these times, this happens in the middle of the night, and so what an individual can tell you is, I heard shots, but they can't tell you with the precision of ShotSpotter the precise location, and it's that information that the police need in order to make sure they're being as responsive as possible when shots are fired, but also to start that preliminary investigation and preserve that crime scene.
The superintendent also spoke of needing 10,000 to take the police exam this fall. So far, less than 2,000 have signed up. Where will you get the other 8,000 to be interested in becoming police officers?
Well, what I think the superintendent was saying is that our goal is to make sure that we maximize the opportunity for individuals to take the police test. We have 4 in-person tests, 2 in, I believe, in October, 2 in November, and then there's an online opportunity. What we know is that we've got to increase the size of the applicant pool because the yield, given all the standards and the screening and the background check, the yield is a small proportion of the people that apply. So we've got to get more people into the funnel. One of the things as the superintendent did, and I'm assuming he's testified about this today, is to stand up a full-time recruitment team led by a former deputy chief of the patrol division. They have hit the ground running. They're going out to city colleges, they're going to HBCUs, and really making sure that we turn over every rock to identify the opportunity for young men and women about the police department, to understand that the benefits are, and to really improve the size of that applicant pool, and that's really the primary focus. So they're leaving no stone unturned. I get briefed on a weekly basis about the efforts that they've made, the number of people that applied, where they're going, the various fairs, and other opportunities that they are creating, and then sitting at other opportunities that have been created by others to get the word out about the possibilities to become a Chicago police officer. So we're thinking innovatively, we're offering incentives, and I feel good about the plan and the strategy.
All right, Amy Jacobson on your right.
Good morning, or good afternoon, Mayor.
Good afternoon.
Excuse me. So this isn't the first time that Kim Foxx has rejected charges when there's been a significant amount of evidence to press charges. Do you think it's time to have a federal investigation of her office?
Well, I don't really link those two together. What I know is, having been a prosecutor myself, having been briefed and looked at the evidence, I see grounds for charges. Now, I'm not the prosecutor there, but what I'm asking is, she's got to explain to the public why, given that evidence, a pod camera right there that captured the entire thing, police officers on the scene, a uniformed squad car there, why that isn't enough when what we understand the facts to be, based upon the evidence captured on the pod cameras, is you have cars circling, and then three individuals coming out of that car and opening fire on a residence. I don't understand why that's not enough evidence to charge the remaining two initial shooters with something. They weren't just shooting into that house for no reason. And they clearly were not mutual combatants. They clearly were not shooting in self-defense when they initiated the gunfire. So we just are saying, please get involved personally. Explain to us why you made the decisions that you were, but more importantly, to reconsider it, because we believe that the evidence is there. Look, we've got to be able to explain to residents, not only on that block, but across the city, why it is when you have this kind of evidence, a videotape showing exactly what happened, why charges weren't brought. And I'm hard-pressed to explain that, because it doesn't make any sense to me, and I don't think it makes any sense to the local aldermen who are on the front lines of this, but also the residents of that neighborhood. I think that this is a decision that has to be reconsidered, and I urge the state's attorney to do just that.
You think it's time for her to step down? And what did you write specifically in your letter to her?
Well, we'll release a copy of the letter, but it follows what I've said, which is we're concerned about what happened. We believe that there's sufficient evidence to at least charge the initial shooters. And then I think the people that were in the house that were returning fire, I don't think that they should get a pass either. Since when do we have a household that has that many guns, that kind of firepower, and clearly weapons that had been converted to be automatic weapons, both on the parts of the initial shooters and the people that were in the house? And it became a SWAT incident, as I'm sure you know. So
It's time for her to step down.
Look, I'm not here to talk about that. What I'm here to talk about is what we have to do in collaboration with the county, the state's attorney, the courts, and the jails to make our neighborhood safe. And I'll repeat it again. If the bad guys that are out there that are picking up guns and shooting without any regard for the sanctity of life do not believe that there's accountability for them, the brazenness will not end. It will escalate, it will continue, and our communities will not be safe. So when our police officers work their tails off to put together these cases and present them to the state's attorney, my expectation is that due consideration will be given. And this one is one where I just don't understand why felony charges were not approved on Friday night or Saturday when they were presented to the state's attorney's office. And I would like to see her reconsider that decision and at least charge the two people who initiated the gunfire. One of the weapons that they used, by the way, was a handgun that had been converted into an automatic pistol, meaning it could fire like a machine gun. Really? There's no charges that could be brought? I think there could.
Moving on to Sarah Schulte.
And moving on to some school questions.
Sure.
Testing began on Friday. How did it go? And can you give an accurate percentage of how many parents actually tested in for testing and how many students were tested on Friday?
I'm going
today?
to defer to CEO Martinez on that with the specifics.
So we're actually going to be doing weekly briefings. I'm going to join Dr. Arwadi tomorrow at 1 o'clock, so we will have all those details for you. We did see more schools participated in the testing, but we'll give you those details tomorrow, and that'll be at 1 o'clock, and we'll be able to answer all your detailed questions specifically about COVID testing.
You can't tell us how many parents opted in. I mean, I'm just, the union keeps telling us all these numbers about testing, saying only 3% of parents have opted in. Can you at least give us an accurate number of how many parents have opted in to have their kids test?
Let me give you the full information tomorrow, if you don't mind, just because, what we do is we clean up all the data because we get the results from the vendor. So we actually, even today we're meeting with the vendor just to get details because there was a few schools, for example, that were supposed to get tested that didn't. And so I want to share all of those details tomorrow. I promise you, you'll see it all.
Another question on quarantining. According to your data, there's over 5,000 kids who are in quarantine right now. I know that the mayor and also Dr. Arwadi have implied that not all these kids really need to be quarantining, so that some schools are being a little bit maybe too aggressive with this. So are you going to give some type of instruction to individual schools on exactly who should be quarantined and who should not be quarantined?
It's a great question, and I will share with you, because there's been so much fear, and frankly, some of it is misinformation in the media, and I get it as a parent. Right now, people are still learning about COVID. Delta was a curveball that was thrown at us over the summer. I will tell you right now that in fact, we had a meeting today with Dr. Arwady and her team and our team, and it was exactly that. It's actually to actually look at our current procedures, some of them, by the way, that were being carried forward from the spring, to look at what makes sense now, because we are seeing the effect on parents. We're seeing the impact. And so some of the things you're going to learn tomorrow is, one, what changes we're thinking about with those procedures, specifically even on things that, for example, we have updated information from both the CDC and the city health department, where we're going to put in place immediately. But again, for me, we're gathering that information specifically. So the reason that Dr. Arwady and I decided that we're going to do weekly briefings is to keep you informed and give you those specific details. But I can assure you, we actually met today. It was my first meeting Monday morning, day 4, was specifically looking at quarantine procedures, because I do feel that it's time now to really make sure that we're aligned with the current guidance from both the CDC and what Dr. Arwady and the City Department of Health are recommending. So you'll see more details on that tomorrow.
Thank you, CEO Martinez. Thank you, Mayor.
If I can let me just follow up on that last question. Look, it's pretty straightforward. We've got to be very clear what the protocols are. We've got to not put that burden on building principals. That's not fair to them. And we've got to be very transparent with parents. And over-quarantining creates chaos, and that should not be a thing. So one of the reasons, I said this probably now 2 weeks ago, that I asked Dr. Arwady and her team to get directly involved is so that CPS has the benefit of the most up-to-date learning from the CDC and the Department of Public Health, and that we're giving very clear protocols and guidance to everyone in the system as to what has to happen for mitigation and safety within the schools. And I feel very confident about the plan that is now in place and how we're moving forward. And as CEO Martinez said, tomorrow there'll be a very detailed briefing on where we are and what the path forward is, so that there won't be any ambiguity or guesswork. And the best thing that CTU could do is be partners with us in putting out the facts and not stirring up the chaos. We need to all be rowing in the same direction. Now, we may disagree on the margins, but where we can't disagree is that the #1 priority has to be student safety. And anything that deviates from that, we cannot support. We've got to be unified in saying loud and clear to our students and to the parents that the #1 priority is student safety. That's where we've been all along, and we invite the CTU to be with us on that. But bottom line here is, CDPH is engaged. They've been working with the team at CPS to help support them, to make sure there are clear protocols in place, transparency around that, making sure that the data is being updated real time so that everybody in the system, and particularly the building principals, understand what's going on across the system, but in individual schools. And the decisions about who gets quarantined and who doesn't, that should never be on the shoulders of the building principals, in my view. So, thank you all.
Thank you, Mayor.
Appreciate it.